she's had kits or kittens or whatever you call it, baby rabbit bunnies before. And these highly coiled up structures are her uterine horns. And in a cat, they would just be straight. These are all coiled up, so we'll find a cat later.
They're so big.
Yeah, it's very big. And then this structure right in here would be the ovary, I think. These big coiled up tubes are the uterine horns.
So are you gonna like,
That's so
when
weird.
you pin it on the exam, would you do it something like that, or like on?
Well, like the ovary is pretty visible
I thought
here.
it was like the large intestines
Yeah,
or
me too.
something.
I know.
I was like, oh,
They
hey.
do. In the cats now, they're going to be horn-like structures, so you can see the difference. And so these blood vessels would be ovarian blood vessels, and these tubes would be uterine horns. And where they come together, down here, we can find where the bladder ends at the urethra. Let's see if I can get that out.
Ugh,
Mess.
the smell of this is not beautiful.
Not beautiful, so that would be the urethra, and then underneath that, this tube that extends from the horns down through the pelvic canal would be the vagina underneath that. I think it'd be more visible in some of our cats. So I will go look for a cat, and we can put Big Mama away, I guess, because those uterine horns are very complicated looking. Let's see what happened to a rubber band. Let's go there. And I'm more likely to use that. Okay, we can put Big Mama back away again, and I'm going to look for Big Mama. Yeah, that's what we call her. She's huge. Well, we didn't get many females. Only got one per lab section. And some of them got lost. Okay.
How am I like out of storage?
Now, over here.
Literally just deleting everything right now. I can't delete pictures of Cleo as baby though. I can't.
Get Google Photos.
No, I like the videos. I'm just gonna delete everything else.
No, but I'm saying get Google Photos. You can upload all your pictures onto that and then delete them off your phone.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, please.
I'm gonna take a picture of that after.
Okay.
Well, the last page. I know. I know. I just need a mind
Pig
on
anatomy
this.
was so easy.
I actually was like stressing about that last semester, and now I'm like,
That one was so
it's so easy compared to this.
I know.
But I mean, like, if you think about it, this is kind of like the bones.
50% I know.
Yeah.
Just 50%.
Like, the first page, I feel like fine,
Yeah.
honestly. For most of the stuff. I mean, did he show us this?
The what? Yeah, I think so. They were like the branches off, like in the lungs and stuff.
Oh, yeah, never
Yeah.
mind. But is that show, what is that? Best seen in the human model? It's like anatomy, but it's like how everything works together.
No.
Yeah.
It's not like we're learning like the function, structure, and all that stuff of these things now. Then it's gonna be like,
Now that you said it, maybe I'll take a summer class.
well, the first session I think is full, but the second session is still,
I don't know.
Or you could take it at a different, like college. I'm glad I'm taking it in the summer, because it's like,
Okay, this one
but also you can keep checking if it
is
goes
not
off.
that typical
A lot of
looking.
people went out there. That's how I got in that one spot open. I was like,
Well, right now I already enrolled in it to take it down.
I gotta
me
find
too.
a male
I
one
still-
too.
I need to unenroll myself in it.
So here's an ovary in this female cat, and this tube here is a uterine horn. Here's another one on this side. These are kind of twisted up. This is a female that's had offspring before. So, and her bladder has been removed, it looks like. But where these come together, that tube, as it goes through the pelvic canal, would be the vagina. And, oh, here's the bladder. There it is. The urethra's on top. Underneath that, get the urethra out of the way here, keeps popping back. It's where these tubes come together. There should be one passageway. It's getting dark in here. So everybody comes in with all their cameras. So that would be the vagina. And then under that, of course, is the rectum.
The vagina is a tube?
It's a tube. These come together and form one tube that goes all the way through the pelvic canal underneath the urethra. So here's urethra, there's vagina, and then underneath that would be the rectum. So I gotta find a male now. And again, all these caps have been moved around.
The amount of videos I do.
So wait, you just said that's the bladder, but then you like the urethra. I was like, I don't even know.
Is that even on here? Like the urethra and the bladder? They're not on the list.
So do you think you
Yeah.
would you test it?
Oh wait, no, it's on this one. Actually. I mean, he's a kid and he loved water bottles. I don't know why.
Well, they all have a favorite toy. Like my dog.
So it'd be
Yeah.
bladder then urethra is that?
Yeah, no, him, like, it's all about the water bottles and the water bottle caps. Like, that's him. My cat, for some reason, has an obsession with water
Yeah,
bottles.
I think so.
This is when it would be an advantage to have your own class with all your own stuff. Without everybody,
So
5 different instructors and 13 labs, 6 people pulling through this stuff. You can't rely on anything being there the next time you come in. So this is a male rabbit. Let's see if we can find anything on him.
oh my god, they look so gross.
Sorry, guy.
He looks a
Came
little,
flying over there. Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
just a little dead.
If it's it says male, but I see uterine tubes. So this is another female. So that didn't work. So it said male on it? Okay,
Well,
well,
they were wrong.
yeah, those are uterine tubes. Okay, so
Oh my
we'll
god, it's like burning my.
somebody mislabeled it something. I don't know.
I was like, you had a good idea right there.
Here's most of them are males. You got a fairly large one?
Actually, no. I think it's like kind of small.
Yeah,
Mine was the one over there.
who's got a decent sized
Ours
rabbit?
was a male,
Male.
but it's,
Yeah, someone took our rabbit.
Most of them were males
So
because
salty.
I don't even know what
they
it is.
save the females for breeding and the males are, you don't need as many males.
I don't know why. It's like,
So they get set off to the,
No, it's making my nose like.
the stronger it gets, the more I'm just like,
oh, we get used to it. Okay, so there's that one back. So I go hunting some more. And I'm still looking for it. It was over there.
I'm like, what else can I delete on this?
Okay, and other table.
I deleted everything I possibly could.
I'm tired.
I feel that.
I don't want to do school anymore.
I also feel that. You know, it's gonna be awesome when you delete all the pictures at the end of the year and you realize, oh, I don't need these anymore. I don't need any of these though.
Yeah, and also they're all in your textbook too.
Right. This is in the beginning of the year and I thought I had to take pictures of everything.
Yeah. I used to do that, and then I was like, hey, it's right in the textbook and stuff. And I was like,
Plus we're not gonna use anything. Yeah, anyway. Delete 45 photos. That felt like an accomplishment.
I have so many pictures on my phone right now, but I have a lot of storage.
I'm like, I would rather have videos of this than like pictures of anatomy from the beginning of the year though.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna delete them all anyways. Semester is over.
I want food.
What's that thick tube? This? Yeah, larger. Whatever. Colon. Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah.
That's definitely not another user board. Big brother.
Ew, how are we supposed to decipher any of the nerves, vessels, or whatever?
Well, I'm
I
sure
have
they all look
no idea.
I heard next semester in physiology you have to literally kill a frog. Like they
Ew,
give
a
the
moving one?
yeah, they get the frog alive to you and you have to like give it a shot of something to kill it.
That's nice.
I'm not touching it. Frogs are slimy. I can't think they're slimy.
One from another class. I'm gonna put it back where it belongs. This is a nice mail, looks like it. Yeah, okay.
This one's kind of fresh.
So. Okay, I can see at least the glans penis
Oh, nice.
here, down here,
Can you point out again?
right here.
Thank you.
Oddly enough, in rabbits, the penis is below the scrotum, and the scrotum is bifurcated. We believe it's because, it's not described in the book for some reason, but we believe it's because the hip is pretty much straight up and down in this animal for hopping. And for copulation, the right angle and everything, the penis has to be below the scrotum, and the scrotum has to straddle it, so it doesn't interfere with its function. So this is one side of the scrotum. There's another one over here. Instead of one big sac, it's two sacs. And this has been opened up. So the scrotum is a sac-like bag. And inside is a rather elongated testis. They have elongated rather than more oval shape like humans do. And this testis gives rise to a number of tubes. We have blood vessels and nerves in here. And we have the sperm duct called the ductus deferens, but you can't really differentiate that with this tissue around it. So then we go inside the body. And what we're going to find here is that when the testes descended through the abdominal cavity, it went out through an opening in the muscle wall. That's called the inguinal canal, and down into the scrotum. So this side's intact, the scrotum's intact. So see, this probe is sticking through the inguinal canal.
Good to know.
Yeah, so there'll be a probe stuck in it. Now inside the body, the sperm duct and the nerves and vessels separate off from one another and are no longer contained inside of a tube, a spermatic cord. And so the sperm duct is this whitish tube. Let's see, this one's been pretty, there's a good one there. That's a fine one on this side. You see this looks like spaghetti coming around here, looping around behind the bladder. There'd be one from both sides. So if it was intact, they would look like M's from McDonald's, right? The two arches. So that tube that arches around behind the bladder and joins the urethra is the sperm duct, or you can call it ductus deferens or vas deferens. So that is the sperm duct. Inside the spermatic cord, you can't see it because it's covered by a sheath of fascia that was brought with the testes when it went through that opening. Now, then the nerves and vessels separate off from the spermatic cord, and they continue cranially up this way toward where the testes originated from. And I'm having trouble seeing them right now. Let's see on this side if we can see them. They're very tiny, and they didn't get injected very well. But anyway, the nerves and vessels separate off from the sperm duct. Two sperm ducts here loop around behind the bladder. The nerves and vessels continue cranially. So those are the only things you need to know about the rabbit reproductive system. We've got the scrotum, the testes, we have the inguinal canal, and we have the sperm duct. If you see little vessels On the cats, for example, you might see little vessels running up alongside the ureter. Then those would be the gonadal or testicular nerves and vessels. So it's pretty simple. Oh, with a penis too down here. So penis, scrotum, testis, inguinal canal, and spermatic duct are the things that I would be testing you on.
Spermatic cords or ducts?
Spermatic duct. Now the spermatic cord can only be seen in a cat. Spermatic cords is a female, so I can't show you that. But because in the cat the genitalia are behind the pendular legs, there will be a long tube running down each thigh that contains the nerves and vessels and sperm duct, and that's called the spermatic. It's called the what did I just say? The cord.
Cords?
Yes.
So we're not gonna be tested.
But you can't see the spermatic cord very easily inside the scrotum of the rabbit. This would be it right here, but it's hard to visualize because it just looks like it's hard to see.
So that's the scrotum.
This is the scrotum. The scrotum is a sac of skin and muscle that encloses. See, this is intact on this side. It's hard to see with this fur on it,
Yeah.
but it's two sacs. You open them up, and inside you find the testis.
Oh.
And then here's the sperm duct is inside the spermatic cord, so you can't see it there.
And sperm
But
duct
here-
is the same thing as the vas deferens?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I want you to call it either vas deferens or ductus deferens.
Okay.
And there it is on this side and that side. So what I do is loop this around a pen and have a sentence that describes
So
that.
hold on, ductus deferens, what is it?
Ductus deferens is the same thing as vas deferens. They're both on the list, right?
Yeah, and what is it?
That's the sperm
Sperm
duct. Those are the scientific words for sperm duct. These appear to be vessels. Here they are. These are the spermatic vessels running up here. Or gonadal, you can call them either way. So see, they separate off from the sperm duct after you get inside the body because they're not covered by peritoneum. When the testes went through the inguinal canal, it took some peritoneum with it, and it made a sheath that wrapped around the nerves, the vessels, sperm ducts, so they're inside this spermatic cord. The spermatic cord is more visible in a cat because it runs all along the thigh down to the scrotum. It'll be a tube-like structure. So that's what we need to know about the reproductive systems. Did I do the nerves? Didn't do the nerves yet. Let me see if this guy has.
Thank you.
Let me see if I have these.
We're not gonna have the symphydemus.
Okay, the nerves will be fine. The vagus nerve runs right along the carotid arteries.
That's
See
the
this?
vagus nerve.
Yep. 10th cranial nerve, a pair of them, there's two of them, they're called vagus nerves. These are the principal parasympathetic nerves in the upper part of the body. And I will pin them right next to the carotid artery. So they're pretty easy to identify.
So that one's the carotid artery right next to it.
That's the left carotid artery, and here's the right one. And there will be another nerve running along with it. So it will be tested right next to the carotid arteries. Now, if we're lucky, the diaphragm is intact. Let's open this up a little bit. And let me see if I can find any nerves going to it. This is pretty dried up. Let's see if this guy's any better. Okay, this is pretty good on the rabbit here. There's a nerve on each side of the thorax that goes down and innervates the diaphragm. It's in this mesentery. That pair of nerves is called the phrenic nerves. So I would put the pin on the diaphragm and say, identify this nerve. That would be the phrenic nerve. There's a pair of them. Sympathetic chain of ganglia I'm not going to test you on because it's nearly invisible. You'll need to know that for a lecture. Brachial plexus, that's one of my favorites. Now, underneath the brachial arteries, artery and vein, there's a bundle of white cords. Remember, you go vein, artery, nerve. This bundle of white cord-like structures here in the armpit resembles pasta.
No.
No? Capellini or angel hair pasta. Capellini would be perfect. There is a difference, you know. Capellini doesn't ball up as much. It's a little bit larger. So that bundle of nerves, there's 5 pairs of spinal nerves to run the arm. Those that control the flexors and those control the extensors. And where they go, when they exit the thoracic cavity and go out to the arm, they interconnect with each other in many complex ways and form what's called a plexus. So that's the brachial plexus. And the simple way to remember it is pasta in your armpit. That's where you put it to keep it warm, right? That's terrible. So how can you forget that? So pasta in the armpit is your clue for remembering that this is called the brachial plexus. Again, I'll have to have a sentence on a card explaining what we're looking for. By the way, there's a nice parietal pericardium there. Okay, and then the easiest one of all is you go down here on the hip, you lift up the biceps femoris, biceps femoris, and you see this nice big nerve, the largest one in the body, that's flat, like a noodle, like, what's the flat noodle? Linguini. LL, linguini in the leg. That's how you remember the sciatic nerve. Now, you're all going to experience sciatica sometime in your life. When you have muscle spasms in your back muscles that cause the rub against the nerve and cause pain running down your leg, or when you have a ruptured disc, you can get a real serious problem with lower back pain and sciatica. So that was easy to know. So you only have 4 nerves they have to know, and they're pretty easy to remember. The vagus runs right along the carotid arteries. The brachial plexus is pasta in the armpit. And LL is linguini in the leg. And the one that controls the diaphragm is the phrenic nerve, a pair of phrenic nerves. They will be pinned on the diaphragm. So that's pretty easy.
Can you go over endocrine system?
The hooty-whatty?
Endocrine system.
Endocrine. Okay, what's on that list?
Pituitary.
Pituitary gland, we saw that on the brain.
Before you start, epididymis, you're not gonna test on
No, the epididymis is unusually shaped in the rabbit, so we're not going to do that. We'll just learn that for lecture.
Yeah.
It's too small in a cat. Okay,
Wait, how about the broad ligament around?
the hooty-whatty?
No.
The ligaments? I'm going to test you on the ligaments of the female reproductive tract in lecture because they get destroyed in the lab. They don't last. Even if we had a perfect set of them, they would not make it through 2 days of a lab exam. With people going, "Ah."
Is that the same for other people's exams? Like, I'm not in your class, so for like.
Well, I set up the exam with Julia Held and I put it together, and
Okay.
it's pretty much the same for 2 days.
Okay.
We make some substitutions as things get worn out. Yes. So anyway, so the mesenteries of the female reproductive tract, we'll just do those in lecture exam because they're too hard to do in lab. They're all torn out. Okay, thymus. This glandular tissue that sits on top of the heart, this one's split, but they look like a little dome, remember a garden gnome with a little pointed hat? That's what they look like. They sit over the heart. In the cat, they're much more elongated in humans, but these are kind of cute. So all of you should be able to find a thymus gland in your rabbit, and you should be able to find a nice
Adrenal gland?
adrenal gland. Where is he? He's in here somewhere. It's gotten dark again. Well, these are the adrenal lumbar vessels. So, oh, there it is. That's right there, this little rounded guy. That's the adrenal gland. And in humans, they sit right on top of the kidney, so they're adrenal. In rabbits and cats, they're superior and medial. And these vessels that go through them were those are the adrenal lumbar vessels. Let's see if he's got the two. No, these are too bad. So depending on how dry they are, you can find
So
those.
they're not like on top of that kidney directly?
It's a little round pea-like thing right
I can't see
here,
it.
right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and then the vessels go through. These vessels aren't very well injected, but we'll have other ones that are in good shape. Okay, anything else on the endocrine system? Pineal was in this guy right here.
Okay. Okay.
And we saw the pituitary gland on the base of the sheep brain and also here.
Yeah, I think that's it then.
So that's not bad. We've finished the course. Stay the weekend, we'll finish the lecture too, and then we'll do.
Thyroid as well. Thyroid
Yeah, thyroid
is
gland.
right here. Right?
Thyroid gland will be on that human model with the
Yeah, you
larynx.
showed us that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, that guy. You're holding one right there, thyroid. It's one half of it. This guy, thyroid.
The big thing?
This thing?
Yeah,
Wow.
thyroid gland. Well, your larynx isn't that big, so. That's what you use when you want to control the crowd. Stay back. That's thyroid.
So it sits on top of the trachea?
That's the top of the trachea, and right above that is your cricoid cartilage. And then the thyroid.
Cartilage?
That, yeah, and then the epiglottis, and the little arytenoids.
Which one?
Arytenoids.
Oh,
The ones you hold on to when you want to steer this thing. Like the little spacecraft, get in there.
So it was cricoid on the bottom, thyroid.
Yeah, that's the one you feel for when you're doing a tracheostomy. It's small in the front but big in the back. Cricoid, thyroid, arytenoids, epiglottis. Pretty simple.
it's cricoid, thyroid.
Can you airdrop
Wait, which one is the
I have like a couple videos.
that? Okay.
That little guy, right here. No, just that one, this top one, this big one. All these are just the C-shaped cartilages that keep the trachea from collapsing. But that's cricoid.
Yeah.
See, it's bigger than the others. Thyroid, epiglottis, and these two little guys are arytenoid cartilage.
Good picture of
Not bad for
You're not
Duramate.
gonna